Bring in two men who have worked for this president and talk about the state of play. We got Anthony Scaramucci and we have Jim Schultz. Gentlemen, thank you both. Schultz, let me start with you about this idea of Trump trying to get rid of people to make things happen that he wants before he gets out, and they're not good things. I don't even know if they're legally sound. What are your concerns as a legit Republican about Trump trying to get rid of the head of the FBI or move somebody else out of DOJ and bring in somebody who will appoint special counsels and the like?
Look, we have a real short window here left, and within a month or so left, and there's no reason to be shuffling the decks at this point in time, both from a continuity of government perspective and making sure kind of the government runs correctly and a transition takes place that makes sense. To dismiss the FBI director, we've heard reports the White House counsel's office push back against that. If that's true, that's the right thing to do. They should be pushing it back against that. There's no reason to be letting the FBI director go at this point in time.
What's the message to the president if he wants to spend the rest of his time doing this, Jimmy?
I say to the president, it's time to start thinking about legacy. It's time to start thinking about what he can do between now and the end of the year in the Middle East and other places where he has pretty good stories to tell, and focus on that and less focus on personnel.
Yeah, and what the hell? You might as well do something about the pandemic before you leave.
That too.
That'd be nice.
I get that too. I mean, he's going to have to sign a bill, but that's largely getting debated in Congress at this point. And they're moving along with
all I'm saying, Jimmy, nobody was going to die if we didn't build a wall, and it was an obsession every day. He could throw that in until the end. Maybe he'll change a couple of minds. Anthony, instead, a big reason that we're not seeing that kind of urgency is that nobody's telling him to have that kind of urgency. You saw that with Ron Johnson today. He gets all upset because he doesn't like people saying he's pushing propaganda. How are they wrong? What came out of that hearing today that changed the feeling that there's nothing significant to investigate?
Listen, it's terrible, and Jim knows this because we did work together briefly in the White House. Jim was a hockey goalie. He was taking shots on net of all this insanity and blocking them with great diplomacy. And so there's nobody like Jim left in the White House right now. And so the president wants to transact. He wants to make money. He does not care about his legacy. He's told people privately, what do I care about my legacy? I'll be dead. Why would I need or care about my legacy? And so he's looking at the next 2-3 weeks. How am I going to make money off this? How is this going to be good for me post-presidency? Is there a chance I could still stay in the presidency? Apparently, Ron Johnson and Rand Paul think there was a lot of unproven fraud. So, he's listening to those people, Chris. But trust me, this is all about a grift right now, and this is transactional from here until January 20th.
Right. I mean, look, Jim, you're a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. Anthony's a big shot from Harvard and a lawyer. We all know that there's no such thing as unproven fraud, right? If you've got fraud, that means it's been proven. They don't have anything here. They've been thrown out of dozens of courts on the basis of this. When will there start to be some shame in the Republicans' game about this?
Well, you would have thought after this last round at the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court just chose not even to hear the arguments on it because there wasn't any widespread fraud or any evidence of widespread fraud put before the court, that would be somewhat of the end of this. I think you're going to see, much like you saw after Hillary Clinton's loss, folks talking about, the only reason the president won in 2016 was because he cheated, because he colluded with the Russians. And in fact, you had some folks, even at the time of the certification of the Electoral College before Congress, which is going to happen on January 6th, objecting, members of Congress that were objecting to that based upon collusion and Russian interference and cheating on the part of the president. I think you're going to see some of that from the Republicans at this point. But unless you have a senator and a Republican from each state making that argument, it's much ado about nothing.
Anthony, the reporting that came out today that McConnell was on a call with the caucus saying, listen, we got to get the relief done now. It's hurting us in Georgia. What does that make you think about as a Republican?
Well, listen, he's a cold, hard, calculating pragmatist. I think the Republican Party has lost its way. I think Senator McConnell would say something different to that. I think he used President Trump, frankly. He transformed the judicial system at the federal level as a result of that use. And I think out of respect for President Trump, he was waiting for the Electoral College certification, but he doesn't want any funny business now going into the Georgia runoff or the inauguration. So the big question for Senator McConnell is, how does he feel about President-elect Joe Biden? Is he going to do the same thing to him that he did to President Obama? And let's hope not, because the country needs relief, Chris, and we've got to get a deal done on a bipartisan basis.
The guy has given us no indication to believe that he will ever change what he is. Jimmy, last word to you.
Look, I think it's, one, very important that we get a deal done. Two, I think it's also very important that we move on past this election and get to Georgia. All eyes are on Georgia right now. I'm bullish about the Republican Party in the future here, like some other folks. We won 15 seats in Congress. Nancy Pelosi's going to have a five vote margin. That's it going into this election. I think we're looking pretty good going into 2022, and it's all eyes on Georgia. That's the most important thing right now.
I mean, look, in likelihood, you may well win, but if you're going to use the power to deny relief for 5-6 months because they won't let you protect companies from a non-existent legal threat from sick employees, I mean, what's the use of the power? But we'll take it one step at a time. Let's see what happens with this relief and if they make good on it for whatever the reason. Anthony Scaramucci, Jimmy Schultz, thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
All right, we have vaccine news tonight. America may have more doses available than we thought. Why? Well, because Pfizer may have not made a bad mistake, but made a mistake in terms of being more potent than they even knew, meaning that the vaccine could be distributed in even smaller portions than they knew. Is that true? And what about this reporting that the Trump administration was pushing people to push for herd immunity? Was that the reason behind all the ignoring of the pandemic?